Good people, welcome back. Truth Prescription Podcast. I'm like stumbling over my words today. In the building, we have Mr. Gary Coichy. What's up, Gary?
What's up, sir? How are you?
Doing well, and I have to say I appreciate you coming. Through all the rain and the sickness. This man had well, we won't get into his medical issues, but we'll just say he had a little bit of a procedure a couple days ago, and his voice wasn't 100%, but
right.
He's here trying to grind it out with us on the Truth Prescription because he wants y'all to break free and be free. So Gary, interestingly, is the head of partnerships at a company called Pod Digital Media, which is his company. And head of partnerships is just his way of saying he's the boss. But that's his, that's what he came up with. Pod Digital Media is the first full service company for multicultural podcasters. So basically what they do is they take podcasters who want to reach a multicultural audience, and he provides them with he connects them with advertisers, which is so critical in the podcast space. You want to say something?
No, for sure. No, what I want to say is that podcasters that caters to the multicultural audience.
Yes.
And that already has that audience as their as the majority of the listenership.
Yeah.
We leverage their inventory, we leverage their podcasts to connect them with blue chip advertisers.
Right.
Yep.
Awesome. Okay. Gretchen, that's recording, right? Video? Okay. Cool. So, interesting about Gary Came to the U.S. from Haiti when he was 15. For whatever reason, I know this date, January 28th, 1997 is the date he came.
Wow.
Which is, we just passed that anniversary.
You did your homework. 23 years now. 23 years.
And he did not speak English when he came. He only spoke Creole or French. Which one?
I spoke Creole and I spoke both. I spoke Creole
both.
and French, but I did not speak a word of English.
He did not speak a word of English, right? Which is pretty amazing. And his family went to. It's so interesting. When folks from the Caribbean come to the U.S., come to the New York area, normally they go to Queens or they go to Brooklyn, Flatbush, but for whatever reason, Gary and his family went to Nyack in Rockland County, which is like,
I don't even know how. I honestly generally don't know how to discover Rockland County.
Right.
But my mom had moved here in 1991, and my aunts and uncles were already here, and they lived in Rockland County.
They lived there.
So when I arrived in 1997, and I got off the airport, I got off the plane, and it's hot. Right, it's hot, and then my mom is like, "Hey, put this on, scarf, hat." And I'm like, "I'm sweating bullets. What are you talking about? Why are you giving me all this, all these layers for?"
Right.
And dude, that door opened at JFK.
Hawk.
The door opened, and I think my uncle, I remember it vividly. He said, "Tonight is -2 degrees." And I was like, "What? What is that?"
Right. So you got the rude awakening. So
quickly
he's brought himself up, did a few things before he started this company, which he'll get into. The company's doing really well. They've had clients like Toyota, HBO, BET, Viacom, Tidal, Universal, etc. So he's growing. He's an entrepreneur, and he's gone through a few things, and he's been successful. And he's here to share with us today. So let's jump first right into the Truth Prescription. For those of you that are my old listeners, you already know the concept. For anybody listening for the first time, the basic premise of the show is that we are afraid of truth because it's uncomfortable, it's scary. You look in the mirror, you don't want to see things. And what I found in my journey, and this is why I wanted to share this podcast with you guys, is that when I accepted the things that I was ignoring, I had a breakthrough. So the Truth Prescription basically means that the truth is your prescription. That's how you're going to get past and get through and gain more success in your personal and professional life. So Gary, sometimes known as GC.
Yes, sir.
Tell the people about either a personal or professional truth, a story that illustrates somewhere where you were maybe ignoring something going on inside of yourself or outside of yourself.
Right.
And when you accepted it, it created a pathway for you.
I want to focus more on the professional aspect of it.
Okay.
And that goes back to my days in corporate America.
Okay.
And corporate America is just a different beast. It's a different animal. You have to be ready for it. You need allies. You need to actually have friends, professional mentorship within the organization in order to be successful.
Okay.
And I think for me is, and I learned this at a very early age, it's about how do you accept and how do you navigate through different energies? How do you know whether someone is really a friend of yours, whether or not they're a foe? Do they really have your back? Do they really have your best interest? And I think for me is at an early age, I've learned to accept, you have to accept the truth. Like people in corporate America, people at work are not your friends. And they're not your friends in a sense that, like, I can see you and I are friends. And you might put me to the side, hey, G, you did this. I'm not a big fan of it. I know you meant well, but the way you positioned it, I wasn't, it didn't make us look good. I keep saying you're my boy, but in public you're saying this. You're making us look bad.
Yeah.
Let's just find a way to fix it. And regardless of how the delivery might be, you've conveyed that over to me. I'm aware of it. Yeah. And then it's up to me to make to make a choice, to make the right changes. If I care about a relationship, to sort of really turn that around. In corporate America, you don't have that option.
Right.
Or you may not have that option because the person that you're working next to on a day-to-day basis may not like you. And they may be saying things that are completely untrue about you, about your work ethic, about the quality of your work.
Yes.
And they're not even communicating that to you because it's passive aggressive.
Yes.
Right.
Yes. Show the landscape to the people. Tell them where were you working in corporate.
For sure.
You don't want to say the company, just the type of job.
Oh yeah, I mean I've been everywhere. I'm a marketer's marketer, and I always want to say this. People always think it's a joke, but I really gravitated towards marketing by watching Boomerang, Eddie Murphy and Boomerang.
Oh yeah,
that cat was the man.
He was the man,
right?
Yeah.
So that I was like, I need to be in marketing. This guy is putting together marketing plans. He's putting together big campaigns, big beauty campaigns. He's sending people out to the islands to come up with the creatives, to create to execute on his creative process. I'm like, this is beautiful.
He had all the ladies.
Oh, he did have the ladies too. He did have that. So I'm like, this is beautiful. This is exactly what I need to get into. But of course, as I grew, this is at like 11, 12, I matured into the much older young man. I went to college like, oh, this is marketing. This is what this is. I'm like, okay, great. This is exactly what I need to do. And I got into it. So I say all of that to say that I've worked in at different companies in different marketing capacities.
Okay.
Whether it's as a marketing manager, working purely on the retail aspect of it, working with the retail partners, making sure that the products are getting to the right retail stores or different partners that we work with, whether it's been on the e-commerce side, search, social, affiliate, email, influencer marketing. I've worked in marketing in that capacity. And I've also worked in marketing in-house. I worked in marketing for different brands where we're doing out-of-home TV, radio, television campaigns. But lastly, the latter part of my career, I've worked on the agency side. So when I work on the agency side, and I've worked for these larger holding agencies, and we work with those Fortune 500 companies, where we have much larger budgets and managing much larger campaigns.
Okay.
Yep.
So in your time in that corporate world, can you give us an example where maybe you because you came up with this truth because something happened?
No, for
or
sure.
Things happened,
multiple times.
Where you thought somebody was your friend.
Multiple occasions.
So give us that scenario.
Scenario is that, especially on the agency side, it's a bit cutthroat, right? It's a bit cutthroat due to the fact that, and it's not necessarily because people are vicious. Some people are, in fact, vicious. But the environment, most times, unfortunately, is the fact that people are overworked. They're overworked, underpaid, underappreciated. Therefore, that creates a level of animosity towards the establishment. But more so importantly, it also creates a level of animosity, competitive nature within the internal teams. Okay. So therefore, if I'm underpaid and I know you're getting paid 15, 25K more than me, yet if I can show that I can do something better than you, I can get to that position by teaming up with a couple more people, why not do it? I'm underpaid now. I live in New York City. My rent is high. The rent is high. So therefore that just creates sometimes a level of competitiveness that's not necessarily advantageous to anyone. It's much more, it deteriorates and it exacerbates any types of situations. Got it. So that said, I was on multiple occasions and as not to use that as for anything in particular, but I was sometimes the only minority or the only black guy as an associate director or as a director. managing a team. And sometimes within my own team, people I've hired and they've gone and say, hey, we should have a different boss. Or I think I could do this job because it doesn't come up, it seems like Gary makes it look so easy, or he could be doing this, we could be doing that. And, just like they were underworked and underpaid, I was overworked and underpaid. I was overworked and underpaid.
Yeah.
So therefore, I was juggling and navigating the hardships on a day-to-day basis, just like they were. But my attitude towards the work doesn't show on my face. It just shows, hey, this has to get done. Let's get it done. We don't have time to sit and mope.
Yeah.
But anywho, I've had situations where I've had teammates, colleagues, definitely have gone against me, trying to have their own team, create sort of trying to get
them versus you.
Correct.
Kind of thing?
And I've always come out on top simply because I have a mantra that I live by.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, I accept the truth even when it's not in my favor. Once I accept the truth, I reflect. I reflect not in a way to dwell negatively. I reflect with purpose in a way to move forward.
I love it. I love it.
And I generally live my life both professionally and as a 9-to-5er. When I was working, I've worked sales jobs, 100% commission, going door to door, knocking door to door, and trying to sell, promotional packages. Hustle. And I wasn't making a dime.
Hustle.
But I had on a suit and tie, and I was doing it with great pride.
Okay.
And some days I'd come out, and it'll be a good $350 day, and I was a happy man. And some days I come out making zero, and I was still a happy man because I've accepted the truth that for the day, I have been defeated for the day, not for the week or not for the month or not for the year.
Right.
That attitude alone propels me to get to that next level, to get to the next day with excitement, to say, okay, we made $0 yesterday.
Right.
So let's start today by making 50.
Yeah.
If we make 50 today, it's already a win.
Right.
Oh, by the time we get to 350, we're at the Super Bowl. We're at the Super Bowl.
I like that.
Let's raise the Lombardi Trophy, but that excitement, that level of excitement, allows me to get to my over the next obstacle, over the next hurdle. But it starts with accepting the truth of whatever that previous issue might have been.
Right.
If that makes sense.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you had to basically finally realize, okay, I'm in a swamp here a little
Correct.
bit, in this corporate world.
Correct.
And I need to move as such, right? This is not just hunky go dory. I go to work and we're all friends.
Correct.
It's a little bit of a battlefield.
Correct. And then you still have to be tactical and be strategic.
Oh yeah.
But you just have to accept the truth for what it is for that moment.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
So I understand your angle. I understand your angle. I understand your angle. This is my current position.
Right.
So that's the actual truth. We have to accept it.
Right.
And then now, how do we navigate? What do we need to do?
Right.
Do I need to sit you down, have a heart to heart,
Right.
Do we need to have a hard conversations, or do we do the two can play that game?
Right.
And then where I need to we can start playing ping pong. And then nobody wins.
Right.
So there's multiple ways.
Most of the time, step 2 happens because I would say, and you tell me this, but 85 to 90% of people don't deal with the truth. They don't accept the truth.
They don't.
They don't want to hear the truthful feedback. They don't. They just have their scenario in their head, like you said. Because one thing you said earlier that I think is interesting is, you were overworked and underpaid, right? Mm-hmm. And then you kind of glossed over the fact that you were the only minority, but. Mm-hmm. I think
most times, I have to say most times.
Most times.
Yep.
Okay.
I've gotten to different agencies. My last agency that I worked for, and I give them credit for it, although they laid me off. We can talk about that also too. Laundry service out of Brooklyn. That was probably one of the best agencies I've worked at as far as culture is concerned.
Yeah. They were very diverse. I looked at their page. They had all women, men, Asian. I think the CEO
LGBTQ. It was phenomenal.
It was great.
I mean, the culture was the culture was amazing.
Yeah.
At any given point, you're getting the feedback, and we were creating content. So therefore, the content was coming from the actual source of the people that's actually going to consume it.
Yeah.
So it was great. So I truly enjoyed the culture at Laundry Service. Shouts to Jason Stein. He's no longer the CEO, but he did a good job building that up.
So let's jump into some questions here. And I like asking you. The point I was going to make before was that for you, for me, right, I grew up here, so I deal with whatever I would deal with as a black man in this society, right?
Right.
But I always feel like my brethren who are from out of the country have it doubly worse, right? Because they deal with being a person of color and being an immigrant.
For sure, yeah.
So it's double, and then yours was triple because it's you had to eventually learn the language. So it's not easy out here in these streets.
It's not one bit. Not one bit. I mean, for me, when I first came to the States at 15, this is your prime years, right?
Yeah.
Your prime years of flyness, of discovering who you are as a young man, et cetera. You're in high school.
Right.
For me, is I had to learn the language, I had to learn the culture, and at the same time, I had to get schoolwork done at the same time, right? So it's a bit, and I'm not saying I'm operating with a chip on my shoulder, but it's certainly not easy.
Yeah.
It's certainly not easy to overcome all of that. You have to learn the language, and you have young boys, young girls, like, I couldn't say Adidas. I think one day I was trying to sound cool, and I said Adidas, something crazy.
Right.
And the girl said, "What are you trying to say? You can't speak English?" And I'm like, "Oh man."
Yeah.
Now I think she follows me on Instagram now. Don't follow her back because I am too fly for
That's
her.
right.
I've upgraded.
That's right.
Yeah. No, I'm being petty. I'm
GC.
joking.
That's hilarious.
I'm joking. But no, actually not joking. But but that's happened, bro. Like, all jokes aside, like, when you're learning the language, and even when I got to corporate America, like, for me, there was a certain level of confidence that I now have at 38 that when I was an account manager at the age of 22, 23, I did not have.
Correct.
Simply because I walk in a room to make a presentation, and the person would say, "Can you repeat that again? Can you say that again?" And they're saying it in a way that they're not understanding you. And they're not understanding you, but you're trying to get the proper word out. You're trying to get the corporate verbiage that you just learned out. You've been reading your books and, Maxwell and all these different self-help books to get your diction, your vocabulary properly. You're set forth properly, and you're trying to use those big words, and it's a struggle. That's a huge struggle. And you are professional. You are trying to learn. You are smart. You do understand what it is that you're trying to convey over to your client, but it's just not connecting. Yeah. So much early on, it was extremely frustrating. Yeah. But I think as the years went on, and I started to accept that I have an accent. At one point, I was like, "Yeah, that accent is gonna go away," but then I accepted that no, it's not gonna go away. It's part of your personality. It's part of your DNA. Correct. Again, once I accepted it, and then now
the truth.
Like, correct. Right. And I was like, "Oh, okay, I've accepted it," and now, of course, I've accomplished more. I'm achieving more at work, both in my personal life and in professional life. That you operating a whole different ladder, a much higher self confidence.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Perfect. Mm-hmm. Cool. All right, let's jump into some questions.
Sure.
Number one, is the American dream real or is it a hoax?
It is absolutely real.
Okay.
The opportunities that America offers is nothing like anywhere else in the world.
Okay.
So I operate with, and I'll get a bit personal with this one because it's so relatable, is that $50 in New York City is literally, by the time you step outside of your house, by the time you breathe in the morning, you've already spent $50, right? From the subway, if you might take an Uber, by the time you grab breakfast might be $8-9, lunch might be 15 to 20, might have to grab an afternoon snack, Starbucks, just to kind of give you a pick. $50 is extremely, it's finished, right? If, as I speak to you today, I'm not sure when this podcast will be released, on February 6, 2020, if I send $50 to a cousin, to a younger brother, to an aunt, or an uncle in Haiti, that will make the entire month.
Wow.
Right? So when you think, I think and I operate like this on a daily basis, whether or not I may have overspent taking clients out for drinks and dinner, or maybe in my personal life, I go out on a date and I'm overdoing a little bit. That's always in the back of my mind. That extra 20, that extra 50 could have been used by someone else, and they would have been happy. So when I know for a fact that I've had the opportunity to come to the States, to go to school, to learn English, to work in corporate America, to have, I love the 15th and the 30th. I lived for the 15th and the 30th. Oh, that direct deposit. Oh, it's amazing. Because for a fact that it's coming. Yeah. You have that hope that it's coming. because you've worked for it.
Yeah.
And similarly to how some folks feel about tax season, and it's the same thing. You're expecting a refund.
Yeah.
So I love that ability, that opportunity to have that, and then to be able to do that for a total of 16 years, 15 years, 15 and a half years, 16 years, and then to have an opportunity to jumpstart my own thing, to create something else, and then now I'm creating opportunities for other people to come work for me,
right,
and still be able to support myself. It's unmatched. Like there's no way to put that into words. So therefore, I feel like the state certainly has its issues, from racial issues and political issues, healthcare issues, and things that certainly need to be rectified without a doubt. And I don't want to get into politics by any means, but for the most part, the American dream, I've accomplished the American dream. I've come from pure dirt where I had to walk 6 to 8 miles a day to get to school, walk 6 to 8 miles back from school.
Wow.
And I still have to study. I have to get food, take care of my little brother, help him with his homework, then work, watch my sister do her homework whilst I do my homework. And then, and we're doing this, let's be clear, we're doing this without power. So this is by the time 6, 7 p.m. hits, it's all candles.
Wow.
Electricity might come overnight between 12 to 3, but why does it matter? Because you're asleep anyway.
Right.
So to me, I operate with that state of gratitude.
Yeah.
So therefore, I'll never come here and say the American dream doesn't exist. It exists, but what are you making of it? The opportunity is here.
Yeah.
Therefore, because the opportunity is here, and I have to take advantage of it, because I know others, personally know others, and have friends that know others because they come from, whether it's Jamaica, Trinidad, or whether it's Ghana or Nigeria, that can relate, because we know others or siblings or aunts and cousins that can do the exact same thing. That can just go, you know what? I'm not happy with my job. And when I wasn't happy and I realized, like, what can I do? I'll go on LinkedIn, or I'll go on Indeed, I'll go on Monster.com, careerbuilder.com. I'm aging myself right now. ZipRecruiter, and all these different places, because I have options.
Yeah.
I'm not being stuck here unhappy. You're paying me, $95,000 benefits plus, bonus, and you're not, I show up 5 minutes late every morning and you're upset. No, no.
Right.
You should accept it. I'm a great employee.
Right.
I'm looking for a new job. I have options.
Yeah.
I know people that have zero options, and they'll take what they can get.
Yeah.
So for me, yes, to answer your question, the American dream does exist. You have to take advantage of it, and you have to make the best of it.
Yeah.
So yeah, absolutely. Okay. Yep.
So this is a great segue to sort of the second part of your American dream, right? So you got here, you went to school, you worked in corporate America, and you got that check on the 15th and the 30th, right?
Yep. Sometime the 31st. Depends on.
Right? Now you're in a situation where you're generating your own cash, and it might not come on the 15th. It might come on the 5th or the 17th or the 16th or the 1st, right? What would you tell folks who work a 9-to-5 now, who maybe have a family, kids? What's the best way for them to transition out if they have inclinations to start a business?
Oh yeah. What I'll tell you is actually is to have a plan. This is not my first ride at this entrepreneurship lifestyle. I've taken a stab at it previously.
And you, just a disclaimer, you don't have any children, you're not married.
I'm not married, no children.
Okay.
I don't.
So you have a little bit more flexibility.
I do. I certainly do. But at the same time, I'm also not a spring chicken, right? I'm also not 22, 23, where I can take a stab for 5 years. Let me go. And then I feel like, hey, I'm back. So therefore, I still have to be mindful of that. I mean, I can, but I have to be mindful of that. So that being said, you need to have a plan, and your plan needs to be bulletproof. Also, keep in mind, there is no such thing as a bulletproof plan, right? But I think what you can do is anticipate every hurdle or every obstacle that's going to come your way. So if you already have a family, if you currently have a family, people that you're supporting, mortgage, car notes, etc., those are things that should be at the forefront of your planning process. So how are we going to do this? if we're not gonna get a guaranteed check, if my first client's bill, if I don't get a client, we don't invoice a client, and we don't get a first check for 365 days, how are we gonna survive? I'm hoping if you're creating a business, it's not gonna take a year for you to get a check. But so you gotta plan for the worst case scenario, because that would be the worst case scenario.
Right.
So I'm hoping that's not the case. But plan for the worst case scenario and then work your way backwards.
In your quote unquote bulletproof plan. It's bulletproof in quotations.
Correct.
Meaning you need to take a lot of due diligence, research, put in a plan together.
Absolutely.
I'm going to talk briefly about this because I was talking to a friend of mine recently who's an interior designer. It's a damn good interior designer. And we've been talking about her having her own business. And I gave her the same advice. Like, you got to create a plan. And she's like, well, what does that mean? And so I'll let you speak on what you think. But what I advised her to do was basically look at what you want to do and figure out, based on either research, articles, whatever, what are the steps? And then write all those steps out. And then look at those steps, and then each day work on one. And that's it.
100%.
Step by step. Yeah.
Step by step. The writing everything down process for me was hard to do at first because I'm such a visionary.
Yeah.
The idea comes in my mind and I visualize it. And I can tell you how it's going to look like. And I can tell it to you step by step. It's almost if I was an artiste and I'll be able to paint it right then and there.
Right.
But life doesn't work that way.
No.
So therefore, you need to itemize everything. You need to be able to look at it, read it all over. Because for me, that excitement comes when I'm visualizing it. Oh, okay, cool. By month 3, we're going to have, we'll potentially have HBO. We'll have, Showtime. They spend a lot of money. They may not give us 100,000, but we might get 25,000. So if you multiply 25,000 by those 4 companies, that's 100,000. So our margins are X, Y, and Z. Oh, we'll be good. Yeah. I'm that visualizer.
Right.
But it doesn't work that way. So I've learned this process. I've forced me to become the guy that writes everything down, that has everything in Excel, where everything is spelled out. And then what I've discovered, it's even more beautiful. As if I painted it because I'm looking at the numbers.
Yes.
I'm not a numbers guy as much as more of because I'm more of a strategy big thinker type guy. But then I've learned, I'm like, oh, the numbers look good. If we're so you tell me if we're able to do X, Y, and Z by X, Y, and Z, because then it allows you to sort of really understand your business in and out. And I've learned this and I've read this in multiple books. If you don't know your numbers, you don't have a business. If you don't know your numbers, you don't know your business.
Right.
So you don't have a business and you don't know your business.
Right.
So therefore, you might as well just go back to your 9-to-5 job.
Right.
Because you're setting if it's still there, because you're setting yourself up for failure at the end of the day. So I agree. I'm fully aligned. I'm fully in line with your strategy, and what you told her is that you have to itemize everything step by step. And then even it's itemized, by the time you're doing step 2, you might realize, you can jump to step 6 because step 2 takes care of 3, 4, 5.
Yes.
And then now you can jump to 6. By the time you get to 6, you're like, oh, I understand what I need to do. I don't even need step 12. Let me go to step 15.
Right.
But at least you know what you need to do.
Right.
You don't know what you don't know.
And sometimes step 2 or step 3 early in the process might be something like, I need to go to this conference, or I need to read these 3 books.
No, for sure.
Because there's a gap in my knowledge base, right?
100%.
So that's great. All right, cool.
Yep.
Let's see. I usually generate a bunch of questions and then just pick depending on how the thing is flowing. Let's see. And let's talk about this. So one of the things that I liked when I first met you, and you were talking to me about your business, was it's a little bit novel, right? There's no other company. I don't know any other company that does what you do in terms of taking that demographic and leveraging it for advertising.
Right.
You may or may not know this, but talk a little bit about the buying power of the African American and Latino demographic, and how do advertisers benefit? I feel like we're probably, numbers wise, probably way up there, but I don't know the actual numbers in terms of consumers.
In terms of consumers, in terms of the dollars, it's right now I think it's $1.3 trillion of buying power, right?
Yeah, it's crazy.
At the end of the day, we just like to shop. we just like to buy.
Consume, right?
We like to consume, whether or not, and it's also a win, and also it's a plus and also a minus too, because we should be investing more, right? Especially the things that we're buying. If I'm taking Uber on a day-to-day basis, why do not I have a Robinhood account where I'm investing in Uber?
Yeah.
And then
Robinhood is a free account where you can trade, by the way, for folks listening.
all right. Thank you for clarifying.
Yes. Everybody don't know that. But go ahead.
So for me, it's why am I not investing in Uber? So now if I know I'm investing in Uber, I don't need to take Lyft anymore. So I could delete the Lyft app out of my phone. Right. And I can focus on Uber because I want the profitability to rise up.
Right.
So therefore, then you start thinking different. You start consuming different.
Correct.
Because now you have a dog in the race.
Yeah.
You have a horse or a dog. Which one is it? You see, that's showing you this is.
I don't have a dog in that fight.
I don't have a dog in that fight.
It's normally what they say.
I'm still learning English, dude. I'm 38 years old, been here for 23 years, and I'm still a student, and I don't mind saying it.
That's awesome.
I don't mind saying it.
Right.
So I don't have a dog in the fight.
Right.
Because now I have a dog in the fight, which is Uber.
Correct.
Therefore, I'll start rooting for Uber.
Correct.
And then when someone's opened the Lyft app, I'll say, "Why are you doing Lyft? Like Uber is so much better." I want you to use Uber,
right?
Because now I'm investing in Uber. At the same time, I'm a consumer of Uber.
Yeah,
that's a whole other topic.
We
can certainly get to that next time if I'm invited back. But the goal is we consume a lot. Like we like to pray. We like the newest Jordans. We like and the numbers too. When you look at the stats, it really derives from more of the urban areas. You know, your affluent African Americans or Hispanics or not. You know, they know how to spend their money much wisely,
right?
And they're investing more. But
so these companies, right, that you've worked with, the Toyota, HBO, BET, Viacom, Tidal, etc. They're targeting that market, right? That consumer market.
They've created content because those are okay. Toyota has a car, great cars. Shouts to Toyota. Checks clear on time. Wink. Ford too. So they have cars that speaks. I mean, they we need to drive cars. African Americans, Hispanics need to drive cars.
Right.
Right. So therefore, they need to target us.
Right.
Right. And then part of the messaging is the way we're targeting the general audience market. We can't use that same verbiage and language and approach to targeting African American or Hispanic. They're not going to respond the exact same way.
Correct.
So therefore, they leverage our platform because we have the podcasters, we have the audience that they're looking to reach.
Right.
Correct. So.
Right. How do you know? Because like iTunes, for instance, you can't get access to follower demographics.
Correct.
So like, let's say like my podcast, right? Right. I don't really know race wise who's listening. You know what I mean? Right. Most podcasts don't. So how are you able to, like, let's say, in we'll say 6 months, I'm up to my 1,000 or my 2,000, right? Right now we're around 800. I get up to 2,000 a month. How would you know that I'm African American, but how would you know that my demographic is urban?
What is the channel that you use to promote your podcast? How do you promote your podcast?
Mostly on Instagram.
Correct.
Yeah. Okay. Okay.
I'm helping you get there.
Yes.
So therefore, what we do is a soft data match on your social profiles.
Okay.
So when we do a soft data match on your data profiles, we understand what's the audience, what's the percentage of audience from which demo engages with your content the most. And then we take that information and we classify you accordingly.
Got it. Okay. All right, GC.
That's how we do it.
Cool.
As a company, because we focus on niches, solely focus on the multicultural segment.
Yeah.
That's how we go about doing that.
Yeah. No, that's great.
Because therefore, it's used directionally. However, it's still as accurate as the closest we can get to guesstimating properly to providing that information back to our clients.
Yeah. Okay. Great.
Yep.
Okay. Cool. My last question I wanted to ask you about, part of your when you were in the corporate world,
right?
You had another alter ego, we'll call him,
right?
and I've called it you a couple times during this interview. Not Gary Coichy, but GC.
Right.
Most people in that other world know you as GC.
Right.
And you were very deliberate about creating a different person than the person you were during your 9 to 5.
Right.
So my question really is about, you can tell a backstory about GC, but how did you build that brand of GC? I always like to hear stories about how people build brands, successful brands. And your brand, the GC brand, is successful. I mean, because I just told you this off mic or off pod, but like I'm talking to people that I don't even know you that know you. Like it's crazy, So you know a lot of people and you've developed that over time.
For sure, I think GC doesn't exist without Gary Coichy, because GC derives from Gary C. Coichy, right?
Right.
I think for me, it was a time when I entered corporate America, and I realized that at the time I was into corporate America because I love the allure. I love the fact that I can have a corporate, I can have a corner office. I can have an assistant. I say, hey, Cheryl, hold all my calls. Again, boomerang. Right?
Yeah.
Eddie Murphy and boomerang.
Yeah.
Right. So I appreciate that allure of it. But I had friends, they wanted nothing to do for 9 to 5. Right. These guys wanted to be entrepreneurs from Jump Street at 21, 22. And I also had other guys that were, that wanted to go into the league as basketball players. And I also had other guys that wanted to be talent, to become rappers or singers or what have you. So therefore, I was in different worlds.
Okay.
But once you get into corporate America, you spend 90%, like I forgot what the stats is, but I think you spend about 75 or 80% of your time at work. So you can get consumed into your work environment.
Yeah.
And my work environment wasn't diverse enough, lacked diversity and inclusion, especially back in 2004, about more people that would look like myself, or even people that understood people like myself.
Sure.
Right? So therefore, I needed to sort of navigate. I felt like I had to navigate through both worlds. My 9 to 5 life had consumed me. But at the same time, when I stepped back into my friends, they appreciated that I was coming across more polished, but at the same time, they were still like, you don't need to be a part of this corporate guy, It's almost like you're not the cool guy.
Right.
But I knew I was cool because I was gaining so much knowledge. I was working with big brands at a young age. I was exposed to so much. And I needed to, I'm way back into the mix. And I said, just call me GC.
Right.
Just call me GC. Don't call me Gary. Just call me GC. And they're like, GC? Just call me GC.
Right.
And I'm like, when we go out, we started going out, and, we lived in Rockland County, which is in the outskirts of New York City, which is about 45 minutes out in the suburbs. And we come into the city, and someone will introduce me. Hey, it's my boy Gary. I'm like, no, what's up, man? Nice to meet you. I'm GC.
Right.
So therefore, now when you introduce me to your other friend, you're saying that's GC.
Right.
So then everybody's correct.
Mm-hmm.
And I started meeting people in different circles. And to be honest with you, it was only a matter of time before I built a company like Pod, whether it was going to be an influencer company, which is what Pod is morphing into.
Right.
In addition to the podcast.
Because as GC, you were curating parties.
That was part of it.
You were promoting. That was part of
it.
Okay.
That was part of it. Yeah, but that started back in college as fun.
Okay.
And then it actually became a real business.
Yeah.
Where we actually generating revenue. Where at one point I was like, I can quit my 9 to 5 because clearly we're netting out 12,000, with 10,000 or 6,000 a party on the weekend.
Yeah.
And my 9 to 5, my 45,000 divided by 12, by 52 weeks is not giving me that.
Right.
Maybe if I allocate all my energy here, I'll be able to do this. I played with the ideas a few times, but I never did it.
Okay.
I was smart enough to never do it. Because I've always enjoyed the work. Again, I've always enjoyed my marketing. Whether I may not have enjoyed the environment, but I've always enjoyed the work that I was doing, which is also very important. But we were creating events. So I met a lot of different folks, from athletes to entertainers to which is what allowed me to build Pod Media, because those relationships with those early years, those folks now have grown to become head of record labels, et cetera, and now they have access to such and such. So to know a podcaster that has a huge podcast, but he's not monetizing it, for me was easy to say, hey, can we have a conversation?
Right.
Because you have a podcast, I have the access to the advertisers because I'm coming from that world. I would like to help you broker certain deals and bring certain advertisers to you. But that doesn't start because I'm coming in saying I'm an advertiser. It starts because I have the relationship to even have access to you to have that conversation.
Correct.
That started with
as GC. Right.
Correct. But no, that started as GC. GC trailblazed the path for that to happen.
Correct.
But I'm still approaching as Gary because now we're trying to talk about a legit business. That's so how I can assist you to monetize and deliver advertising to your show.
Right.
But the GC persona really helped me build that, because then when you meet GC, you're meeting this guy that's very cool, very charismatic, has the gift of gabs, can carry a conversation, can make you laugh, and has access.
Right.
So therefore, that allowed people to sort of say, hey, we can, this guy's not trying to use us. This guy's just come around. He's okay. And I didn't need them. And my personality was almost pompous because I didn't need them like everybody else needed them, or a manager or a talent. I had a 9 to 5. I was good. So I can walk away from. I'm leaving this event at midnight. I'm driving home to my home to where the birds are chirping. I'm waking up and I'm wearing my nice penny loafers, my nice slacks, and I'm going to work.
Yeah.
Where I am earning me a guaranteed salary again, the 15th and the 30th. You know, so for me,
so it's interesting. What I heard was two things.
Mm-hmm.
The first thing was you said basically you instilled in people it's GC, right? So consistent message, right? Like in terms of building a brand.
Correct.
Consistent message.
Consistent messaging. Positioning, understanding where you are.
Yeah.
Right? Like, what's your role here?
Yeah.
Like, some people are just trying to do, you're trying to be the master of all, you're trying to be the jack of all trades and the master of none.
Yeah.
Therefore, you need to understand, have a position and own it. If you're going to be the door guy, be the best door guy.
Right.
Be at the door and let everyone, so everybody knows I am the door guy here. If you need friends I need to come to this party, I'm the door guy. If you're going to be the DJ, be the DJ. Understand people is going to know you as the DJ. So I think once you accept the truth of your positioning, that allows you to be consistent at it, to get better at it, and then that's how you get recognized. You'd be a household name.
So it's like you tell them what to call you, tell them what you stand for,
right? And
then the third thing you also said was, implicit in what you were saying was you bring value, right? I don't want anything from you. I'm bringing value.
100%.
I don't need you.
100%. And we have this conversation, and almost not to sound pompous, but sounding pompous is that to the podcasters that we work with now is we tell them the exact same thing. We need you. We don't have a platform if we don't have your content. Right. So we need you to create content, because I can't sit in a podcast studio, take time every day or every week to create a podcast every week. So we need you. Like, we need you. At the same time, the minute you stop, if you're not creating content, you're not consistent with your content, we don't need you. You know, so it's the hard, again, but it's the hard truth though.
Yes.
Right? And the same thing a podcaster can turn around and says, I need you to help me monetize my content. But you know what? I can also go out and hire a team and hire my own internal team and put a sales guy out there and have the sales guy go door to door to all the local businesses, because I'll tell them I have a listenership from 34th Street to 14th Street, and I can get, that's where all my listeners derive from, because I know my data. And I will knock on every single door in every single business that's between 34th Street to 14th Street. And then we'll get those business, I'll monetize my own content. Right. We don't need you.
Yeah.
And that'll be the hard truth, because that can happen. Yeah. We're aware of it, because that's the part of providing a service. You could be replaceable, and you have to accept that.
Right.
But are you providing the best service that you can? So that's never in the back of your mind.
Right. And also you want to make the value prop so great at a cost that is so amenable that it doesn't make sense for them to hire
the frequency is so much higher. Don't forget the cost.
Speed, yeah.
One day it's Toyota, the next day it's Ford, another day it's Harry's, another day it's Tidal, another day it's Nike. And before you know it, it's Gatorade. You're almost like, dude.
Tidal wave, like, damn, I'm just overwhelmed. Right.
You're like, dude, oh my gosh, I need to get another assistant in here so we can start pushing out content twice a week.
Yeah, right. Because the more content because the payment for the ads is based on your content. Right?
The payment of your ads is based on your listenership. Of your numbers.
Okay, got it.
Because digital media is priced out on a CPM basis. CPM is a cost per 1,000. Okay. So when you go on a website, whether it's BET.com or WMD.com, WebMD.com, every 1,000 views, there's a CPM dollars for it. Same thing for a social ad that you see on social media. Yeah. Every 1,000 people that see it, they charge the advertiser. Facebook will charge them a CPM. Okay. So therefore, from a podcast perspective, you can determine your rate based on the amount of listeners that you have.
Got it.
So the average CPM for social is about $6 to $7. But social has so many eyeballs, $6 to $7 is still come across very lucrative.
Right.
For podcasts, the average CPM is $25,
Hmm.
upwards of 30 to 35.
Right.
So every 1,000 listener, you can charge $35. So the more listeners you have, the more you can charge.
So somebody with 100,000, 200,000 listeners, they can cake.
100%, because they're dedicated to creating that content. You can keep pumping out content, but if it's falling in the same ears, you're not necessarily growing your listenership.
Right.
So if you're not, you can have 2 to 3 podcasts a week, but if that's not moving the needle from your listenership perspective, it's pointless.
Yeah.
So your bet is what I tell people when they're starting out creating a podcast. I'll give this gem out. When you're creating a podcast, you don't necessarily need to start running. You can create a podcast once a month. Let's build it. Make sure it's quality. Mm-hmm. Make sure it's a great show. But for the next 30 days, everyone needs to know you have a podcast. Every single person you come across needs to know you have a podcast. Mm-hmm. Hey, Pastor, great meeting you. Great service today. Did you listen to my show? What show?
Right.
I didn't even know you had a show.
Right.
When you get a moment, Pastor, check in. It's on iTunes.
Right.
I know you go on iTunes to listen to your gospel songs. It's on iTunes. It's called the Truth Prescription Show. Check it out.
That's right. That's right, Pastor Taylor.
Right. Shout out to Pastor Taylor. That's our Reverend.
Community Baptist.
It's funny. Me and Dr. Seku has the same pastor.
Right. We just found that out.
But, right, so then not everyone needs to know. And then now you show up on Tuesday. That was Sunday. You show up on Tuesday for Bible study. I don't know if you must not go to Bible study because you looked at me like I got 10 heads. So Bible study's on Tuesday. So you show up to Bible study on Tuesday and there's 60 brothers in the room. And you walk in and pastor says, hey, man, I checked out your show. Man, you guys got to check this brother out. He has a great show. Pastor just become your ambassador. You just evangelizing on your behalf. Right. Now you don't need to tell every 50 brothers. Now what you need to do is go ahead and amplify to the other 50 brothers that just heard that message. Hey guys, good meeting you guys. Right. Pastor, I'm the guy with the show that Pastor talked about. Yeah, guys, check it out when you get a chance. Right. Now that's 52 listeners, and that's only in 2 days that you've generated. Right. Yeah. That needs to be consistent. I'm not saying it needs to be a walking billboard. Every street corner screaming you have a podcast. I'm just saying that there should not be a universe that you've created. You've taken your time to create the right content that the right people doesn't know about it, and especially the people that you're trying to reach doesn't know about it, and especially those people that are within, 1 to 3 people removed from you. They should all know. So that's how you're growing your organic listenership at the core. You're building that foundation. And then now you have 100 people that's going out and telling people about your show. Right. And then those 100 go tell people about the show. And those 100 people are going to tell people about it. Now you're growing your listenership. Yeah. Or you come out and create 10 podcasts that no one's heard before. And then you're doing that for 10 shows. I'm overwhelmed. I'm coming back and I'm saying, dude, you have 10 shows. I don't have time to listen to 10 shows. Yeah. Because it's not, I don't think that you have anything viable to say. It's just the fact that I genuinely don't have the time, right? Yeah. But if you put one podcast in front of me, and then you're like, and then now I'm looking forward to the next one. I'm like, when's the next one? Like, it's next month. Oh, by the way, guys, you guys have been listening now. It's 200 podcasts, right? 200 listeners, right? You guys have been listening to us now. We're moving to a bi-weekly cadence, twice a month now. Yeah. More frequency. Right. More podcasts for you, more content for you. We have more to say. Yeah. We have more to say. Yeah. We're going to have more guests. We're going to have more CEOs, more entrepreneurs, more executives on the show, more doctors, more lawyers, more attorneys. It's tax season, more accountants will be on the show. Yeah. Tune in. Tell your friends to tune in. Send me your questions in advance on our social media pages and our DMs. We'll make sure they get addressed during the show. It's a process. Just like everything else, it's a process. Shouts to Kobe, R.I.P. Kobe Bryant. And he tells you it was a process for him when he realized that his first shot when he started was an air ball when he played at versus the Utah Jazz. Yeah. And he said the baskets versus when he was in high school, it's not an excuse, but when he got to the NBA, and the length was a bit further than he thought. So when he took that shot, he thought he had enough strength for it, but he didn't. And he started hitting the lift room, the weight room. The weight room, yeah. To get his strength to make sure that he has it. Michael Jordan will tell you the same thing when the the bad boys, the Detroit Pistons would beat him up.
Beat him up, yeah.
What he realized, he liked to drive to the hole, but then he couldn't really sustain it. His body couldn't take it because those guys were so physical. So he hit the gym, and that's how he ended up overcoming those guys. But it's a process, and that's the problem that we face as my company, myself, and the folks that that works for us is podcasters come on board and they expect to get paid overnight. They expect to be millionaires and they expect to get top rates, and especially the ones that already have large following from social media. This is a completely new medium. I don't know what you did that allowed you to get to that 100,000 followers on Instagram. You need to do it again to get 100,000 listeners on your podcast.
Right.
And then your rates or numbers are completely different.
Right.
Then you don't really need anybody because people are coming to you because now you have the goods, both the content and the audience. Completely different ballgame. Now you can demand what you want within reason. But because now you've created it, you've taken your time to craft it to ensure that you have the right people listening to your show and returning listeners. So that's the type of advice that I tell people. And then that could be and that's with anything, right? That's applicable towards anything. That's applicable towards building a new business. That's applicable towards building video content. That's applicable towards writing a book, creating a blog, a vlog, whatever it might be. Same thing.
Okay.
Same thing.
Okay. All right, cool. All right, Gary, let's jump into a section called Yes or BS. So in this section, stop looking. In this section, I'm gonna make a statement, and you can say yes or BS, and you can expound on it if you want, or if you don't want to, you can just say, give me your answer, and we'll move on.
Let's do it.
Number one, those Popeyes chicken commercials are racist.
They are not. They're tapping into the people that loves chicken. They're doing exactly what they're doing exactly what they're supposed to do.
All right.
And I'm telling you, if I'm Southern women, that's they're branded as women that can cook.
Yes.
So therefore, they've used a Southern
woman, right?
And then they're telling you they have quality chicken. And some way, somehow, we all fell for it. And now we all love Popeyes. So no, yes, I love Popeyes. It's not BS. I love the marketing strategies that they use. Yes.
All right. Number two, French is a more beautiful language than English. French is a more beautiful language than English.
I would agree.
Okay.
And I'm not being biased because French was my second language and English was my third. It's a fact. It's much more. There's more of a the delivery is much
je ne sais quoi.
Yeah. that je ne sais quoi. It's right. Yeah, it's different. You need to have that je ne sais quoi.
All right, number three. Pod Digital Media will gross $10 million in revenue.
I mean, that's without a doubt. Yes. Yeah, oh yeah. Oh no. 100%. Oh yeah. 100%. I mean, we're going for. There's no limit. There's no cap to where.
I'm not saying that's where it's going to stop. I'm saying you're going to pass there on your way to 100 million.
100%. Absolutely.
You got to get to 10.
Absolutely. No, without a doubt. Without a doubt.
All right. Cool.
Yeah. That's the goal. We have a hardworking team. We're always working with. We're working with great podcasters. We're creating great content. And to be honest with you, the CEO of Pod Digital Media, the CEO of Pod Digital Media is not. He's a smart guy. He's a very ambitious guy.
GC.
That's me.
Gary Coichy.
That's me. No, for sure, without a doubt. That's definitely the goal. So that's definitely not BS.
Number four. With proper knowledge, brands are easy to build.
That's BS.
Yeah, there we go.
You have to you can have all the knowledge all you want. You can read all the books in the world. You can have all your stats, but if you can execute it flawlessly, it's pointless. Okay. It's not a one shot, one thing, one. What's the? You see again? Help me with my terminologies here. One shot fits all.
Oh, it's not one size fits all.
One size fits all.
Yeah.
Thank you, brother.
Yeah, you welcome.
But it's not one size fits all. It's like it's a combination of things. And same thing when it comes to success. It's not like waking up every day at 6 a.m. and thinking ready to conquer the day. No, you gotta have a plan. You gotta be able to strategize, and you also have to be able to execute. And so brands need to do more than just have the knowledge, and have the right people.
Yeah.
Willing to execute.
Critical.
Yep.
Number 5. Gary Coichy will get married in the next 5 years.
Wow. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
Absolutely. Gary Coichy.
38. So by 43,
married.
he's gonna get married.
Exactly. Yep.
All right, Gary. You got any what the?
I was recording it.
You got any what do they call those people? Any candidates on the horizon?
For a really long time, and this is not BS.
Okay.
For a really long time, I think my head was really down and just trying to grow the business.
Yeah.
The business has become. You hear those stories all the time. You're an entrepreneur. You're overtaken by your work, and people get upset. And for a long time, that in fact was the truth. That's really what I focused on. I would entertain people. We'll date and go on dates and, try to find some level of consistency. But deep down in my mind, I've always known this most likely will be short term due to the fact that, you may not be aligned with my long term goals.
Right.
Right. But, so yeah, I don't want to say, but I've always been open to the idea of for sure, funny guy. Oh my goodness. Oh my gosh. I just
showed him a name of someone that we know.
No, absolutely not. Definitely not her. Absolutely not her. Great person.
Yeah, good people.
Good
right.
people. Yeah, just
right.
we're not compatible.
Right.
I do have a strong idea of who I think I want
Are you equal opportunity? Meaning, will you date outside Haitian or your parents, your father, you must marry Haitian?
No, not at all.
Okay.
My parents are actually pretty flexible.
All right, cool.
My parents are not they're not saying it must be a Haitian person per se. I do have a type. I don't want to get into it. I do have a type. But for the most part, I think I know exactly who I know exactly who I need.
I gotta put this joke in here now.
Okay.
Not that this is your type. This is what my wife tells me. She's like, every guy's type is this type. I was like, what, honey? What's the type? Big ass and quiet.
I like her. I like her already.
Whatever, correct.
Mrs. Gathers.
Yeah.
We like your style over here. We like your style. Yeah, I know exactly. I think I have an idea of who the person is. I know
type.
exactly
The person is not here yet, but the type is there.
I may have met the person, or I may not have met the person.
Okay.
Right. But I think whether you know or not, you still have to put it. I'm so sorry. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but you still have to put in the work. Mm-hmm. Because it's not one size fits all.
Right.
So it's up to.
No pun intended.
No pun intended. Exactly. It still has to be. You still have to put in the work and make sure that you're growing with the person.
Yeah.
So I think that's the case of knowing whether I know who the person is or not. Wink, wink. Well,
right.
We'll make that. I have to put in the work.
The work is definitely needed to be put in because, when you start getting deeper, you start learning some stuff about yourself, and you're like, well, damn.
For sure, and especially when you start out, I think for the most part, I know cats. I know some of my guys. I've been married. Trying to get the right Instagram post. You see, it's all branding. You see, this is part of the branding. Yeah,
absolutely.
Because the thing is, for those that are listening, actually, if you're not seeing this on YouTube, my suit is impeccable, right?
Mm-hmm.
And my turtleneck fits it well, but I needed to fit within the frame so I can post this clip promoting this podcast that I'm on, you know. Right. But Yeah, so I think I have some guys that got married at a young age. They didn't barely knew themselves when they got married, and then they've grown up to be completely different. So for me, I think at 38, I clearly know who I am.
Yeah,
I wasn't recording the entire time. Wow.
it's all good.
But yeah, so I think that for me, it's a little different. Oh, it is, Gary. No, I think for me, it's a little different. I'm older, more mature, know what I want, know what I'm looking for. So yeah, I think I'm setting myself up for success. The next person that when I truly engage is absolutely will absolutely be my wife.
Right.
And secondly, it's not gonna take 5 years. So which is why that window, that time frame within the next 5 years
it's a good time frame.
It's feasible,
Okay.
100%.
All right. Last question, number 7. It's easy to get burnt out in New York.
Is it easy to get burnt out in New York? That is absolutely 1,000% sure. Yes, you can get burnt out in New York.
Okay.
New York will eat you up, spit you out, swallow you back again, and spit you out again.
Damn,
New York is a
lot of
monster. Yeah. New York is a monster.
All right. Cool, man. That's all I got, man.
7 questions? Oh, man.
That's it. There's 7 yes or BS. That's it.
Got it. Okay.
This was great, GC. I appreciate you coming, man. I think you definitely gave people something to think about, to chew on, but not spit out, but chew on.
Right.
And tell the people how they can learn a little bit more about you and then about your company.
Of course. For us, Pod Digital Media, www.poddigitalmedia.com. If you are a podcaster that has a great podcast, that's looking to monetize your content, certainly reach out to us. IG is Pod Media. And then
What about your personal page?
My personal page is Gary Coichy.
Okay. Coichy.
Coichy.
Yeah. Not Coichy, but Coichy.
Coichy, right. Yeah, man, I'm a friend of the people. You know, I'm always willing to have conversations. Conversations like these, I think, are very helpful. Yeah. One of the things that I wish I had when I was younger was actually have a mentor that would have helped me navigate through those corporate days, right? Yeah. I didn't have that. So I think that's one of the things I'm very, I take great pride in trying to pass the elevator back down, pass the baton back down to the younger generation, and so they can have that proper guidance. Yeah. If I can help you skip four steps, by giving you some knowledge to get you from 4 to 8, without having to deal with certain things, sure, why not? Yeah, but yeah, my personal page, it's at Gary Coichy on Instagram. I'm on LinkedIn. Of course, my full name and the company page is www.poddigitalmedia.com. Dope, brother. Thank you for having me. I enjoyed the exchange.
This was great. Appreciate you.
Absolutely.
All right, I'm gonna sign off as I always do. Hope you guys enjoyed the show. The truth will set you free if you let it.